Your phone is a source of information, communication, entertainment, and let's face it, distraction. But have you ever thought how it could be something else, a means to control you?
She just felt like she was being watched all day long. She just couldn't shake that feeling.
I went into a local phone shop to see if there was any way my phone could be being monitored. They said no. There's no way somebody could be doing that to your phone.
Today, we hear how one woman's partner installed secret apps on her phone to take over her life. So how can you spot the signs of this digital control and abuse? I'm Lucy Watson, and this is What You Need to Know. Well, joining me today is Katie Templeton-Knight, a reporter at ITV Border up in Cumbria, who has been looking into this. Now, Katie, how was it a particular area that you were interested in that you suddenly learned about this kind of abuse, or how did this story kind of come to you?
Well, it was essentially, I was looking into domestic violence more generally, and I put out a call out for case studies through some local charities. And I had actually a lot of people come forward wanting to tell their stories. But this particular story really stood out to me because I just thought, how can this happen? How can someone get into your phone and essentially control your whole life and make it really difficult to leave the relationship? And I just thought, how common is this? Does this happen to other people, really?
Had you heard much about coercive control using tech before?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I'd obviously heard of coercive control. I know that's a real problem, but you can sort of imagine. I mean, I know there's been an increase in things like intimate image abuse, for example. So I sort of thought, would this be an issue as well? Is this something that will also be increasing? I mean, we're all using our phones all the time, aren't we? So you can sort of imagine that this would be something that would increase.
Now, you spoke to a woman, the woman you've mentioned just there. Her story really kind of stood out for you. Now, we're calling her Sarah, but understandably she spoke to you anonymously. Just tell me a little bit about Sarah, her life before all this happened.
Well, she had a really normal life. She was really happy. She wasn't looking for a relationship necessarily. She met this man who, again, we're not able to identify, but he essentially ended up love bombing her into a relationship. So using flowers, using gifts, and she thought it was sweet initially that he wanted to know that she got home safe and wanted to know where she was all the time. But really, what she says now is that this was actually a huge red flag and should have been something she should have been, aware of, that this was a problem.
So they started to see each other in the most conventional way. They didn't meet online. They met and were friends, first of all. And then how did things sort of progress and things start to go wrong, really?
Essentially what happened was Sarah would go about her life, and this former partner would turn up in the same place as she was. He knew information about her that she had never told him. And she just started, I think the warning signs were there at that point. But it wasn't until one day she was off work and this former partner had asked to see her and she said no. She kind of wanted to put the brakes on things a bit more, but it just didn't work out that way. Anyway, so she just felt like she was being watched all day long. She just couldn't shake that feeling.
It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
She was poorly and off work sick, and
yeah.
She just felt like she was being watched.
Yeah, and then basically what happened was she was driving home and she stalled her car at like a red light, so she couldn't go through the lights. And he pulled up in the lane next to her, and she just thought, this is beyond a coincidence. Really, this is just like, how can this happen? How does he know exactly where I am? And she knew she was in real danger at that point.
Did she question him? Did she confront him at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we actually have a clip of her talking about the aftermath of that and what she did.
Oh, let's hear it.
I confronted him about it. He said it was a coincidence. I didn't believe him. So I went into a local phone shop to see if there was any way my phone could be being monitored. They said no. I mean, we're going back a lot of years because the abuse lasted a lot of years. They said, there's no way somebody could be doing that to your phone. I decided to change my phone because I didn't believe them. But I hadn't realised it was my iCloud he was in.
So Sarah's voice in that, we should also mention, was voiced by an actor. So how was he controlling her? So she had these horrible suspicions, that deep nagging, that horrible feeling in her tummy, no doubt. How did he actually control her? How was he finding all this out?
As Sarah mentioned there, I mean, he'd logged into her iCloud when she wasn't looking, presumably, and taken her passwords. And his phone was essentially a clone of her phone, so he could see what she was doing, what she was spending her money on, the concert she was going to, the gym classes she was going to. He knew everything. And then she tried to leave the relationship, but he threatened to put her private photos, her private messages, her messages with her friends on social media, and she didn't want that. This abuse then turned sexual as well, and tech abuse can often be a gateway to other types of abuse, and I mean, it just made it really difficult for her to leave that relationship.
As well as being able to access her iCloud, he'd installed apps and he was able to track her movements, interactions on social media, email, messaging, Facebook, even her professional emails, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. It was to the point where he would stop her messaging her friends and family as well. He really restricted her use of technology. So that made it really difficult for her to get support as well.
At what point did she then think, this is so wrong, I need to go to the police about it? Because in that clip that we've just heard, she talks about this going on for years. I hadn't grasped that this abuse was going on for so long.
It basically transpired that she was able to go to the police. She was able to find a moment where she could find someone to talk to. But for such a long time, she didn't know if this was illegal. I mean, it was illegal. Coercive control has been illegal for a while, and coercive control using technology has been as well. She was able to go to the police. She said she had a very good experience with the police. She went through the courts, which she says was incredibly difficult and traumatic. But she has her freedom now, and she's incredibly grateful for that.
How did she come to realise that it was indeed a form of abuse, that she was being coercively abused? How did she come to realise that? Because I'm guessing she went through a lot of soul searching and questioning her own behaviour and her own instincts, I suppose you do in this situation.
I think it became so apparent to her, because I guess it's sort of almost gradual what happened to her. But then I think those real standout moments, like the traffic light example I gave earlier, those examples really show you that this wasn't right. And of course the sexual abuse that she went through as well. I mean, that's obviously a really horrible example of what she went through, and really showed her that this relationship wasn't right in any way.
How would you describe then, Casey, what coercive control is?
In a digital scenario, I guess it's where technology is misused to control, harass, intimidate another person. It's usually in domestic violence contexts. And I appreciate that sounds quite vague, but that's because this type of abuse can be quite vague. There can be lots of different technology that's used. So I spent some time with the police, and they were telling me that, even things like smart home devices, so like thermostats or, at-home speakers, can be used in a way to manipulate it and harass people. Because
really,
they're like,
ow,
yeah, I mean, they'll play music in the middle of the night, for example, or turn the heating up. It's just a way of showing that they have this kind of control, really, which is, really scary.
So what have the police said to you about this kind of offence, this kind of abuse? I mean, is it on the rise?
Crimes involving technology are on the rise generally, and it's very rare actually now. I mean, most crimes that they see involve technology in some way. I spent some time with some experts at the University of Liverpool who did a report into how police forces respond to digital coercive control. And it can be quite difficult in some scenarios, they found, to distinguish between abusive and non-abusive behaviour. For example, like sending a lot of text, that could be the start of a loving relationship when you're excited. Mm-hmm. Equally, it could be them bombarding you in something much more sinister. It could be much more abusive, and it's not until you have that added context really that you can recognise whether this is abusive or not. There's just so many different types of technology that can be used to perpetrate this, but I suppose almost the effect on the victim survivor is the thing you have to look at, like how is this technology being used? to abuse someone, really.
So it's ultimately the emotion that creates in a person. That's the warning sign to a point. I mean, are there warning signs?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose one of the most troubling parts of this really is that, as we mentioned with Sarah, you might not actually even know this is happening to you. Like, if someone has control of your phone and they're putting apps on, like, how do you actually know what's really happening? But I think things like your partner restricting your access to technology, telling you who you can and can't text, if they want to know where you are all the time and are sort of checking up on you constantly, I think those are the real warning signs. And Charities, there are some really good resources for helping you navigate finding help for that kind of abuse.
And what are these organisations? Where can you go if you're concerned or worried that this might be happening to you or somebody you know?
Well, there's the Revenge Porn Helpline, there's Women's Aid, there's Refuge, and they have a number of resources to help. There's also the police, of course, as well. And, I asked them, how does it work? If someone's tracking your car, for example, or tracking your every move, obviously going to a police station is going to be difficult. So
I see,
yeah. So they said we're able to meet people in plain clothes. We're able to meet people in locations that don't arouse suspicion necessarily. So there are options out there, and there's definitely support that you can go to.
Now, the man involved in this case is being jailed, and Sarah is safe and well, I presume. How does she feel? Because I don't know how many years it is since this all happened to her, but how is she feeling about things now?
Well, her life is back on track, but I mean, tech abuse does have a lasting impact, and I think that is fair to say of Sarah as well, where she really struggles now to use technology. She says she hates using technology. She wishes she didn't have to use it, but I mean, there's just no way that you can really go about your life not using technology. I mean, you think about even parking your car now, or just everything is done online. So it's really hard for her to, to go about her life without using technology. And the other thing that a charity said to me actually as well was, a lot of the time the support you get will be on your phone and like how you will reach people. So you almost don't want to turn off your phone for those reasons as well.
This is a report and this is a story that you have been following. Are you likely to go further? Have other people contacted you with similar stories? Or
yeah, there's definitely stuff I'd like to look into afterwards. And for example, when we were filming with the police, I think there were devices that we sort of came across, like car keys and vanity mirrors with hidden cameras and all of these sort of items that had been seized by the police over the past few years. Hidden cameras and in some of these items, or I mean USBs that can be for images that are illegal, for example. So yeah, I mean there's just sort of devices really that I just wasn't aware of at the start of this that perpetrators are using to abuse their victims, and surreptitiously filming them and surveying their lives really. So I think there's definitely more places to go on this story really.
Definitely. I think, Katie, thank you so very, very much for coming in and for explaining that to us in great detail. Thanks, Katie. And if you're listening to this on a podcast app, you'll find links to those support services in the show notes. While you're there, you can subscribe to What You Need to Know so you never miss an episode. Remember, you can watch full episodes on YouTube, Spotify and ITVX. Until next time, thanks for joining us.